afternoon, everyone. I am pleased to welcome you to our Reading in Philippine History Debate 2020 with the theme The Greatest Debate, Rizal Retractions. On behalf of this online class, I'll welcome our adjudicator for this afternoon, Judge Twinkling Glory Jose. You may now all mute your microphones and listen carefully. So now you can hear the government side pro and the opposition's anti. This online class believes that the act of Jose Rizal before the said execution have caused renouncement in Masonry and retractions against Catholic Church. Starting off, the Prime Ministry of the government may now defend the motions.
Good afternoon, Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. We, the government side, believe that Jose Rizal abjured Masonry and retracted his statements against the Catholic Church. The document presented to the public is strong evidence that Rizal had truly withdrawn in Masonry and retracted. Let us first address the documents. First, the letter of Rizal to the mother received on July 5, 1893. The letter says that Rizal have been going to the church every Sunday in Dapitan. Doesn't show that Rizal had truly returned to the church. Next, the testimony of the eyewitness. Father Balaguer, who has with Rizal and presented the retraction, format prepared by Father Pio Pai, the superior of Jesuit Society in the Philippines before the execution. He stated that on December 29, 1896, day before the execution, Rizal have accepted and signed the document. On May 13, 1935, Father Manuel A. Garcia found a document of Rizal's retraction. Isn't the account of the eyewitness not enough proof of retraction?
Thank you. Now for the Leader of Opposition, Mr. Jessamay, you may now debate the previous statement and provide the constructions of your side.
Good day, Madam Chair. We, the opposition side, believe that the said documents were forged. According to our online source, Jose Rizal PH, maintained by Jose Rizal University, the fact of document forgery was revealed by Father Balaguer himself. Father Balaguer said that he couldn't remember whose exact copy was the document, and even Father Pio couldn't verify in his own statement. The copy of the retraction paper that he was said to be signed by Rizal was even kept secret and was only published in newspaper who claimed to have seen and read it. When Rizal's family requested for the original copy, it was said that it was lost 39 years later. The original copy was found in the Archdiocesan archives. Instead of ending doubts, it only caused more arguments and questions in many people because of significant difference in the text of the retraction documents. According to Ricardo Pascual, PhD, who has given permission by Archbishop Nazareda to examine the document, later concluded in his book, Rizal Beyond the Grave, that the document presented was a forgery. Moreover, Rizal didn't expressly says that he retracted Masonry. He only said that he hated Masonry. So, is this a strong evidence of withdrawal and retraction? And if you say that Rizal retracted, how come he was still executed? Wasn't the retraction enough for a salvation of Rizal?
We would like to thank the Leader of Oppositions. Now let us call the Deputy Prime Minister, Ms. Jovi.
In your argument of the forgery of documents, it is also reasoned out in the same site that what Archbishop and Father Piso was not the original document of retraction, and the original document, which was almost eaten by termites, was kept by priors for preservation. Additionally, the retraction is a significant document because it established the act of marriage between Jose Rizal and Josephine Bracken. In the Pitan, the condition to them to be wedded was the retraction. No retraction, no marriage. In other words, Rizal could never marry Josephine unless he retracted first, and the sworn statement of the eyewitness, like Father Balaguer, agreed that there was a retraction of marriage between the two. Moreover, after his marriage, Rizal dedicated a devotional book to his two sisters, Josepa and Trinidad, as well as his wife, Josepine, which in his dedication mentioned to my dear and unhappy wife, Josephine. Aren't these books proof of Catholicism? In addition, he said in his letter, I abominate Mansari as an enemy of the Church and a society prohibited by the Church. He used the word abominate, which means to detest in the highest degree, abhor. In the case, he used a stranger language that I retract Masonry. Likewise, Rizal was suspected by rebellion, sedition, and illegal association against Spanish government. The retraction document isn't related to what he was accused of, and as a consequence, it does not save him for execution.
I would like to thank the Deputy Prime Ministry. Now let us call the Deputy Leader of the Opposition.
It is surprising that you speak of marriage when in fact there was no document of marriage between Josephine and Rizal. Consequently, a number of Rizal's writings and letters does not mention Josephine as his wife. Correspondingly, Rizal did not even call Josephine wife in his last letter of Mi Ultimo Adios, which was the last written text of him before his execution. In that letter, he said his farewell to her as follows: Adios, dulce extranjera, mi amiga, mi alegría, instead of Adios, dulce extranjera, mi esposa, mi alegría. More so, if Rizal died as a Roman Catholic, as you have argued, then he should have been buried properly fitted to him. And as for us, his burial was still concealed with mystery because it is said that he was buried in a lot out of a Roman Catholic cemetery in Paco, and his name did not appear in registry for Roman Catholics. In these circumstances, did Rizal really die as a Roman Catholic?
Thank you, Deputy Leader of Opposition. Now for the government's wife, Ms. Lugto. You may now say your final words and include your side's argument.
With regards to no documents of the marriage and having been not mentioned of Josephine in Rizal's writing, it is explained in Garcia's account in his book. The Great Debate, Rizal Retraction, that Father Manuel Garcia found and discovered the retraction letter including the marriage certificate of Josephine and Rizal. It is also explained why Josephine was not mentioned in Rizal's writing as his wife. It is because they were married before the execution or earlier their marriage. More so, Rizal's Mi Ultimo Adios, the last official writing of Rizal, was written a day or so before the execution. In other words, before the marriage. In addition, it is possible that Rizal was not buried in a Roman Catholic church already, because he was already accused as a traitor against the Spanish, even though we Filipinos know that he is not. It is logical to think that the Spanish didn't want an enemy to be buried with decency, and Rizal was no exception to that. In conclusion, Rizal truly abjured Masonry and retracted his affiliations against the Catholic Church for the reason that Masonry is the enemy and prohibited by the Church, and Rizal was starting to return to his church. In this case, Rizal did not fight the Catholic religion. Rather, he taught those who abused their religion and the manners that the friars practiced during that time. All these reasons are proved and evidenced by documents presented and found by people as well as the statement testified by the eyewitness.
I think the government wife for the opposition, Ms. Palen, you may also include your side's argument and preside your final words.
About the related Catholic books that Rizal gave to Josephine and his sister, this doesn't much weigh as an evidence. As Josephine was still in the Catholic faith, it was only fitting that Rizal gave her Catholic-related materials. But this doesn't mean that Rizal finally retracted his words against the church. Moreover, about the forgery of the documents, there are 3 copies of the documents about the retraction. The first one indicates a year of 1890. The second one, it changes it into 189C. And the final one, the written year is 1896. Isn't this enough proof that there was a forgery of the retraction? Even Father Balaguer, who was an eyewitness, has some inconsistencies in his statements. We therefore conclude that the absence of the marriage document of Rizal and Josephine and his burial outside the Catholic Church cemetery of Paco shows that Rizal did not retracted back to the church. The lack of sufficient evidence or evidences prove that Rizal's retraction was just a false accusation.
Thank you, Ms. Palen. The debate proper now is over. Thank you very much for your great argument. Let us more hear what the adjudicator thinks about the performance of our 2 teams. Judge Twinkling Gloriose, please give some comment on both teams' performance at the result of today's debate.
Since both sides have already presented their arguments, let me please give my remarks for each side. For the government side, they have given the proposition and defended the motion, while the opposition refuted and negated this motion. As per the session, the government side have presented their proposition and testimonies for eyewitnesses that are directly involved in the said event. You stood by the reason of Rizal's retraction, which is to marry Josephine. Though one thing I wanted to question is the presence of the retraction letter, while the opposition side have mentioned about the forgery of document and presented more critics, theories, and allegations about the motion. Although presented sources, it seems that it has bias as it came from a school in favor of Rizal. Therefore, the winner of this debate is the government side. Yet, despite this controversy, it does not make Rizal less of a hero. It does not devalue him for he made significant things that offend the eyes of many Filipinos. Through him, the nationalism and patriotism of Filipinos was lit and now been forever burning. With that, I now declare this online class adjourned.